Hi, I'm Michael Wudyka, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm really excited about National Geographics, and most of all, having you take me all around the world for free. I look forward to it. A little bit about myself. I live out in Southampton, New York, and I've got two boys, Tucker, which is out in Santa Barbara. He's 17 years old, first year in college. So he says he's going to college, but we'll have to see. And Wyatt. Wyatt is 16, and he's over at Southampton High School. He's a junior. So we've been out in Hampton since 1999, and I first came out here and I opened up First Hotel. We bought it from Martha and Alexis Stewart, and it's called the Enclave Inn. We now have 5. And since then, I've expanded a little bit and done a couple other unique things out here. I own East Hampton Studio, which is the largest soundstage in the East End of Long Island. It's 31,000 square feet, so if you guys ever need to shoot over at our place. Also have a small little restaurant, a couple of internet things that we toy around with. But one of my biggest things that I'm really excited about is traveling. I've been really blessed and fortunate to travel quite a few weeks a year, probably at least a dozen, sometimes even up to 20 weeks a year. I do traveling all over the place, all over Europe, all over the country, and any place I basically can go for a new opportunity. I guess I got my first fix on traveling. I was 14, just turning 15 years old, and I grew up in inner city Detroit, had not seen anything outside of going to Columbus, Ohio, which was outstanding. It was about an hour and a half away from where I grew up, and that was really the only place I'd ever been. The first time ever on a plane, I went to Europe. It was a field trip with the school, and there were, I think, about a dozen of us that actually went. We flew into London, hung out there, and we basically just backpacked. Got some Eurail passes, and me and a handful of friends just hung out and basically went all over all over Europe. We went to about 14 different countries during the time, and I just got a complete addiction to it. I was really fortunate. I went to Ireland and saw the beautiful green grasses of Ireland. That was just so breathtaking. England was a bit dreary, and I went there last year as well, and still is a bit dreary, so I don't know if I'm moving in there anytime soon. But went to Poland. I actually speak a little bit of Polish. Ja mówię po polsku pomału, which means I speak Polish just a little bit, very slowly. And so went over to Poland, spent some time over there, went to Auschwitz, saw a lot of different things that way. I was fortunate enough to go all through the different ruins and all through Italy. Saw the Vatican, went through the Vatican because I went to an all-boys Polish boarding school, so we had a little bit of God wrote us a note and we were able to sneak in there a little bit and walked around the Vatican. Had an opportunity to actually go through the Vatican gardens and see the crypts underneath, which was really exciting. And also learning just about the cultures and the customs and all the different things that are happening. Europe, even though I guess at the time didn't realize how close everything was, it was like for me going to Wisconsin is like going from country to country. So we had a Eurail, we backpacked and slept at night. We traveled and sightsaw all during the day. My first time ever on a ferry, we actually did a ferry. First time on a train was when I was just turning 15 through Europe. First time on a plane, so it was my very first opportunity to really see the world. And all along with that, you also look at different religions and cultures and customs and those things. And I know that's what the show is really about, is looking at different cultures and customs and also different forms of medicine. My grandfather originally came from Pennsylvania, and his way of fixing things were every day to have a shot of whiskey and just a little bit of cap full of gunpowder, and that's the way he grew up, since he started in the coal mines when he was in 2nd grade and actually worked his way through, and that's really what he did for actually his well-being. As I got a little bit older, growing up in inner city Detroit, really the only thing that I was ever told is Vicks. Vicks was basically my entire lifeline. If I got sick, put some Vicks on it. You have a bad knee, put some Vicks on it. Whenever I had a cold, put some Vicks on your chest, on your back, and take a good fingerful and eat it. And that's basically the way I grew up. Fortunately, I've never really had a cold. I don't really get sick. And still to this day, I rub Vicks on my back and my nose and eat a little bit of it, and it keeps me relatively healthy. I don't know, I might be glowing at night or those sorts of things, but it's been working out so far. I've had some other ailments for different things. growing up, I actually worked a lot. I worked in construction in a lumber yard, so I lifted a lot and I had a lot of joint pain, and I still have it. I'm probably in chronic pain most of the day. I really ignore it for the most part, but my joints hurt. I also boxed since I was knee high. We grew up on boxing. My grandfather boxed, my dad boxed, my brothers and I boxed. So for about 30 years I've been, 35 years. I'm pretty old now. I'm 45, by the way. My left elbow hurts a lot, and also my right shoulder from throwing hooks and jabs and hitting the bag. Also, my hands have a lot of pain from actually hitting the old felt bags, which actually compress, and it's like hitting blocks after a particular while. So really a lot of my joint pain, I've really done a lot of different things. We can go bounce back and forth on that, but really what I do is I actually competed in boxing. I fought for 4 years amateur. And they used to have a thing called the Tough Man Contest where you get 70 or 80 different fighters, and you'd sit in a crowd, and they would call 2 different people up. You would come up there and you'd say Michael and then Steve. We'd get in the ring, we'd put on the gloves, and we'd fight. The first night you would fight 3 to 4 times, and that would be on a Friday, and if you made it and you won each one of the fights, you'd come back the next night, and then you'd fight another 4 or 5 times. So it was actually pretty brutal on your body. I was pretty fortunate. I always made it to the top 4 in every year. But the second year that I was actually doing it, I actually, someone had worked Reiki on me because I had hyperextended my elbow so bad that I couldn't even lift my arm. And my shoulder was almost out of joint where I was barely movable. And I didn't want to quit and I didn't want to call in. So I went to my therapist at the time and I had gotten a massage. And he actually performed Reiki for the first time. So it was like, oh, Daniel-san, how he goes over you, and he did that. And he did that. I didn't realize how it worked. Literally it went from not being able to move it to being able to fight the next year, and the next night, and I actually took third the entire competition of 80 fighters. So Daniel-san, that actually does work. Wax on, wax off. So it was really my first time into Eastern philosophy. After that I got reflexology, which I truly believe in, and it's really helped me get through a lot of different things. I've competed in a lot of different things. A handful of years ago, I did my first Ironman. And if you've ever done an Ironman before, it's a 2.5 mile swim, then you bike for 112 miles, then you run a marathon. It's basically a pretty long day is what it is. So during that time, it's not just emotionally and physically demanding, but you really have to get into a mental state where you shut everything down. Along with that, you have to really learn about your body. I was training about 5 to 6 hours a day, and I would do that typically right around 4 to 5 days a week, depending on what it was. And my body, I'm not a tiny guy. I'm 6'2", 240 pounds, 230 pounds by the time this tape comes out. But at that time, I was about 220, actually working out a lot, so I had very little I had a lot of muscle mass, and it's a big guy to actually be running around. And my first one was 15 hours, 57 minutes, and I did that in Lake Placid. And after about 4 or 5 hours, your body pretty much just shuts down. You can take in a little bit of food. We had this stuff called goo that we would take in, but your body pretty much shuts down, and then it's just a mental challenge. On my second loop, there were 2 56-mile loops that we actually did on the bike. And after my 56th mile, my body pretty much shut down. And there was no way I wasn't going to complete it. And I had in my mind, I set a goal that I was going to do 12 miles, then do 10 miles, and then do 8, and continually working my way down. I was in so much pain from my back being tight that I actually said, okay, I'm just going to do 1 mile at a time. It seized up even more. I actually went down to setting my odometer to 1 block at a time. And that's how I did my last 50 miles, 1 block at a time. And as soon as I was done with that, I was lucky enough to get up and run a marathon. So a lot of pain. However, it took me to a completely different state.